you solo.
That was crazy, wasn't it? Right then, let's hope we're live. Yeah, I know we're a couple of minutes late. Let's have a little look.
Yeah, I know Ali wants us to hang on and wait, give a nice little pause.
We are pausing. We are pausing.
No, nope. You're saying we're pausing.
Oh, I see what you mean. An actual pause.
Yeah, an actual pause.
Here we go. We're live. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, Andy and Dave, another Tuesday tune in. Yeah, great to see some people on if you've just joined us. Apologies, a couple of minutes late. Slight techie issues, we're all sorted now. But yeah, if you've joined us, do say hello. You know, do put a comment so we know who's there. Do give us a big old thumbs up or Big 10 or Shaka, whatever emoji you want to do. Yeah, hey Jackie, how you doing? Hey Shona, Amanda, Karen. I always wait for the flow of comments, but yeah, great to see so many people are interested in gloves. I never knew they'd be interested in bloody gloves, like, you know. But Dave, the gloves are off today, aren't they? We're literally going to talk all things gloves for literally 5 minutes because, you know, gloves doesn't take long.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's important. You know, we've actually had some winter conditions. You know, so for the first time ever, I had to go through my duffel bag. You know, dust them off. You know, they've been used since Killy. But yeah, an important part actually when we did our mountain training up in North Wales, when we did our like navigation and stuff like that. One of the big things that we were taught was, you know, you have to like use the map, set your bearings and everything like that with your gloves on, which is incredibly irritating because you want to just take them off. Every time we did, our trainer, who's like an ex-Marine, was like, "There you are, guys, frostbite. Put them back on. Try again." You know, so, key bit of equipment.
You know, it is, yeah. I mean, especially over the last week, as I've put on the post and email, it was just nice to see some snow. I mean, you know, we haven't been able to get to the mountain, so it was like, honestly, waking up and seeing the snow out there was like the best thing in ages. But yeah, it was nice to get out and build some snowmen, have some fun, just go hiking in some winter conditions. Because yeah, it's been a while, and I know I've seen a lot of you on Facebook as well doing the same. Yeah. You know, unless you live sort of further south, I know we've had a lot of snow in the UK essentially. But yeah, so we thought let's talk about gloves. Especially we've got a bit of a special guest today, Dave, haven't we? We thought, especially it's around gloves, we may as well bring him in.
Yeah, absolute expert in gloves. To be honest, we've learned everything we know from this guy. Yeah. So yeah, and bring him in.
I think I'll bring him in, and yeah, I mean, I'd say gloves. I think he's more of an expert in mittens. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, well, they're warmer. Lots of people that summit Everest, and I believe he may have done. May have actually summited Everest. They use the mittens as opposed to the glove because they do, you know, keep the hands together. Yeah, much more of a space to keep the hot air in and stuff like that. So yeah, really important.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Without any ado, I'll bring him in, and I hope you guys can see him. Is he around? He's a bit quiet today, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, we couldn't resist doing the old Bernie Sanders today after everything, especially because we were talking about gloves. And Fee, one of the Yetis, did remind me, how can you not mention Bernie Sanders if you're talking about gloves? And I was like, you know what, you're right. He's going to appear on the live. So apologies if this is the first time because I see Andy there, Andy Spencer, and I think a few people have said this is their first live. So yeah, pretty much, guys, this is it.
Who we got? Oh, Marky V. Marky V, it's not your first one, is it, mate?
It's not his first rodeo.
Joel, what I man. And then, Petulia Dodd, first live. Where have you been for a whole year, pretty much?
I know.
This is must-see, you know, tune-in, time off work television that you need to kind of, you know.
I was going to say, it's important. I feel like this is definitely a sort of scaled version of Bernie. I feel like I'm on the weather now because I'm kind of pointing the wrong way, but I can see that he's there. But anyway, I'll tell you what we'll do. Bernie, look, you're looking cold, mate, so I'm going to send you back off to bed, and we're going to crack on with Tuesday Tune-In. So I'll just take you out of that. But thanks for joining us today, mate. There we go. Right, it's just us now. Here we go. Right, let's get on to gloves. So Dave, where would we start about gloves then? Where would we start?
On your hands. Always best. But yeah, no, I mean, it got us thinking about them because we haven't had to use them for such a long time. But and it is, to be honest, something that a lot of people take for granted. Yeah. Like some people are like crazy sort of anal about their packing and stuff like that, and the gloves are like high on their list. Me, I don't know why. I've forgotten gloves before. Andy's had to borrow me gloves. I actually, there's no word of a lie. I left my gloves in Kathmandu on the last EBC trip I did.
Wow.
So complacency there. Had to slap myself on the wrist. And luckily, I know enough people to get spares and stuff like that. But honestly, it was a little bit of a panic at the time because, as any of you know, particularly, if you've been hiking a lot, riding bikes or anything like that, cold hands and cold feet, it just wrecks your whole mood. It's like everything's more difficult. Your hands are painful. It's not easy to enjoy anything. So just a simple pair of gloves can uplift your whole trip. And certainly, I wouldn't have gone up Killy without them.
Yeah, well, you needed it, especially on summit night. It's damn cold.
Yeah.
Especially with the wind. You're high. Altitude wise, and it's cold. And your hands, you can certainly feel it. I remember, was it Doug? And I think even he had a decent pair of gloves, and he's a Highlander. He's out in the cold all the time. Even he was feeling the cold. So it is important because it can affect your whole the way you are. And I think you've got to have a decent pair of gloves. And when it comes to our trips, most of them, we've got obviously Island Peak, Mera Peak, Aconcagua, 𝑡𝑢𝑏𝑒𝑟 in winter. They're probably the extreme in terms of the temperature wise, and you're going to need down gloves, really good gloves, especially if you're on fixed ropes, because you don't want to be touching metal, sort of -15, with bare hands. That's bad news. So you want to kind of, if you're doing those kind of trips, you want to practice wearing gloves whilst handling rope, or trying to change a belay device or something. Just because that's why we always think on those kind of trips, I'd say gloves are better than mittens. Because you've got your digits, you can use them a bit more. Whereas mittens are really good in the extreme. If you are really struggling, get those mittens on. Get them under the armpits. I'm always like this sometimes, just to keep my digits nice and warm.
I'm all right. Honestly, I'm quite lucky. I never really get, unless it's really cold. I don't get my hands don't suffer too much. With how cold they are. Usually, if I'm inactive and I'm not doing anything, quite often, when I'm trekking, I actually get I don't know what you'd call it, sausage hand syndrome. Where the blood flows to your hands.
Yeah, swelling in the hands, right?
Yeah, if you use trekking poles, it does make a big difference. It stops it. But if you're just trekking, your hands do swell. I've seen it at altitude a lot as well. I walked into Namche the last time I was there, and I saw two girls sitting there just comparing their hands, what's going on? Is this I had to stop and explain that it's totally normal. But when I went to Killy, I used the Montane Prism gloves.
Yeah, good gloves, aren't they? Because they pack down quite small, don't they?
Yeah, probably my favorite gloves ever. They pack down to smaller than my fist. They're like this big, and they're like little down jackets for your hands. Basically, they're made of pretty much the same material and the same down fill. And I didn't have any liners or anything. I just used those all the way up to Killy. And you might remember how cold it was, and it was there was very, very windy. So I don't know what the feels like temperature of it was, but it was definitely below -5.
Well, it was. That's a good point actually. What the temperature was, but whatever the temperature was, people were starting to sort of struggle with their digits, weren't they? And I know, especially with those those gloves are great. Yeah. But I'd say you probably needed a bit more. If you've seen Black Diamond do a lot of good makes of ski gloves essentially, and I've got a couple of pairs of ski gloves myself. Those are perfect because they're used to dealing with harsh temperatures. Obviously, you go if you're skiing or you're snowboarding, you're going at pace, so they're used to keeping your hands warm. So definitely when it comes to if your hands are if you feel the cold a lot more than others, look at kind of getting some form of ski gloves like Black Diamond. I mean, there's heaps of makes out there, but Black Diamond seems to be kind of the top end when it comes to down gloves, and that means imagine a glove much like a down jacket, but it's got down feathers or synthetic in the gloves to obviously insulate your hands. You can get. I know we're talking about gloves, but you can get obviously slippers that you can put if your toes are a little bit cold. I know some people have mentioned that on the last few lives. I've never used them, but I
kind of the lodges now.
For the lodges,
I was going to say, I was still doing a Skilly, mate, and I was thinking, like, I swear, if you pull out your granddad's on the way up to Skilly, yeah, those little, like, my dad had a pair, and he was very proud of them. Again, I suppose, like, I'm not the yardstick for, like, gloves and heated stuff, because I tend to run a bit hot, and so I don't normally wear, like, the most extreme gloves, although I pretty much always have a liner on. I use the black diamond liners, the ones that you can, like, touch your screen with.
They're brilliant. They are.
Yeah, they're really, really, really good. I tell you what else I quite like as well. Like in my pack when I went to, although I used the Montaigne prisms, I did have some Rab, and I think they're called Guide, the Rab Guides or the Rab Mountain Guides. They're like a tan color. Had a set of them in there, but didn't need them, you know. But I think Brooke, when she was on with us, if I remember right, I think her hands and feet were like freezing.
Yeah,
but there's not much of her, to be fair. So
I'm just looking at some of the comments now. I got to bring this one from Jackie. God, that Jackie -23. You forgot your gloves. That must have been very interesting. But
wow.
Hope you still got your digits, mate. But fair dues. That sounds like a good challenge right now. I got to be honest. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Being up there, Mount Toubkal in the winter. Oh, yeah, would love that right now. Wouldn't we all? Right.
That's intense.
I know, right? Yeah, but no, great to see so many people on as well. One of our most popular lives for a while, which is great, and we got some newbies, but great to see all the usuals. You know, Mick, Bry, I can see Diane, Ramona's obviously always on here. Karen, we got Paula, Lord James. I love saying Lord James. Always feels like we got someone famous on the live, but James. We got Shona as always, Lewis, Abby, Haley. As always, guys. Any questions? Do drop them in. We've got heaps of questions that came in on the email submitted before. But if you have got any questions around gloves, or you know, as any live anything, we discuss, especially right now as a lot of people are rescheduling their trips at the moment. Over the last couple of weeks because of the current situation, but any questions at all, just obviously post them, and that's what we're here for, to obviously answer your questions. But Dave, I know we obviously touched on gloves. What about double layer? Because I know that some people we've tracked with, and I know it's quite popular. Some people like to wear 2 layers, don't they?
Yeah. So
you've got in and outer layer.
Yeah, that's when I referred to the liner that I wear. Now, the liner that I bought was a black diamond. I can't remember the make of it, but if you put black diamond liner glove, and it's whatever one you can touch a phone screen with and stuff like that. I can't remember the name of it, but it's got like some stuff on the fingertips.
Yeah.
They're brilliant, and they function not just as a liner, so you can wear them on their own. Just for when it's like you're in the lodge, perhaps, or when you're outside and it's not freezing, but you just want to take the nip out your fingers. You know, they're really, really good. But particularly, if you're going to like EBC and it's a cold snap, the weather on your way to EBC can change drastically. I've been out there when I haven't used my sleeping bag for the whole trip, even at 𝐸𝑣𝑒𝑟𝑒, and then I've been on trips where I've used my sleeping bag from the first night because it was ice cold.
Yeah.
And I think double layering your gloves can make a huge difference as well, particularly because it used to happen when you were a kid. You put that strap around your wrist, pull it tight so you don't lose them. And now I'm coming back into that. I don't know whether that means I'm regressing. That never seemed cool, to have mittens strapped to my wrist, but I actually do it a lot. So particularly, when you're on your way up and it's really cold, or if you're starting for EBC and you start in the night and in the early morning and it's dark, have them on, and then you can just whip them off. Particularly with mittens, it makes a big difference. You can whip them off. You still got your liners on, so you can do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. As you said, David, it's sometimes, isn't it? I know we've been trekking, and you want to take the edge off because a little bit of wind there, but it's not that cold, and you feel like if you put on a down glove, it's probably a bit overkill. So yeah, I think you're right with that sort of underlayer glove, or we call it the taking the edge off glove. You can, especially if you're trekking and you're holding your trekking poles. There's a little bit of wind. Maybe it might even be raining, which kind of takes us on to the next. The next thing, which is we talked about sealskin gloves, because especially when we're trekking in Wales, I know you've used heaps of them. I saw a couple of comments on here just now. If it is raining and you're trying to keep the hands warm, it's hard work, isn't it? But I know sealskin gloves seems to be some of the best out there with that.
If any of you know of a waterproof pair of gloves that aren't rubber gloves, don't keep your water out for an entire trek, please put them in the comments, because I don't know. But you are right, and one thing I do, so going out in Wales, sometimes I'll bring, most of the time we'll bring 2 pairs of gloves with me. And when one pair is like completely saturated, they go back in the pack and a fresh pair comes out. So it makes a difference, because I find it quite, you'll do the first half of the trip. Generally speaking, you stop for some lunch and stuff like that, and you have a cup of coffee and stuff, and putting those soaking wet gloves back on, like I said, it's just demoralizing. It's better than having them, even if they're wet. If you're wearing them, they'll still keep you warm. It's not great to put them back on, but as long as you're wearing them, they're still gonna like keep you insulated. But putting on a nice dry pair after you've stopped for half a day is brilliant. Seal skins, I think, are probably the best I've found so far for waterproof. But I haven't yet found a pair that will keep my hands dry in Welsh rain for an entire day's trekking.
There's a lot of love coming for sealskins here. I'm hearing, I'm hearing mixed. Shona's like tried them, weren't very warm. Dave's like, don't rate sealskins. I think you're right. I've used them, and marigolds. Jerome, they're brilliant. But I think you're right. It's again, like Dave said. Then it's hard to find one that does it all, because if they're going to get wet, they're going to get wet. And I know with sealskins, they are. I'd say they're not the warmest. So if you want the warm, as Dave said, have ones that keep you warm. But if you want that mid layer, or sort of, I say the first layer glove, it's not bad. It's certainly I've found that they've worked. And other than in torrential rain, I think it's been a while because of the coronavirus. We haven't run a training weekend for a while, but one of the last training weekends we ran was with a couple of gentlemen off a live. You got Brian, Mick. And that day, do you remember that day, Dave? And it was like torrential rain for about 4 or 5 hours. It was character building.
I remember that day, mate. Yeah, it was fine.
You wore sealskins that day, didn't you?
Yeah, I am. So technically they were cycling gloves, but literally the only difference is on a cycling glove you'll get some padding, sort of, where you hold the bars. But I wore sealskins on that day, and I was glad I had them, because at least for the first sort of hour or so, they did keep the rain out. But eventually, in driving rain, and this isn't to slam sealskins, I've not found any glove or jacket, for that matter, that in that sort of conditions where it's driving rain on you for hours, that'll keep the water out. It's just not possible. I mean, unless you wear like, I don't know, like literally a seal skin. That might actually work.
Or as Jerome said, a marigold. I mean, that would be
exactly. Waterproof is one of those things where I've struggled. I bought a North Face jacket once, actually. And do you remember my fateful North Face jacket? I wore it when we went to find there's a crashed Wellington bomber in Wales.
Yeah, I remember.
And then I went out there. I had it on for 2 seconds. I was like, I'm soaked. I was like, brilliant. It's almost like it's encouraged rain onto my body. But
great stuff. Yeah, seeing some more regulars drop in as well. Alan Smith, great to see you. Talking about merino wool. Yeah, certainly merino wool, always one of the most populars out there. Again, you've got sort of down gloves, but merino wool gloves, again, another option. When it comes to looking after your extremities, especially if you've got got sensitive hands, you've got Raynaud's, anything where your hands and feet just suffer with a cold. They're good options. But right, okay, we've talked about gloves for a little bit now. Let's jump onto the questions, Dave, because I know we've had a few that come in.
Yeah, why not?
Lauren's on the phones, as we like to say.
Wow, this is I got a question here from Danny Mitchell.
Okay.
I'll be honest, it's 2 paragraphs long, so I'm going to try and speed read it. Basically, he's asking about sleeping bags for Kilimanjaro. And basically, what are they kind of like? So are they good enough sleeping bags? Can provide ones to get them in hours that you hire them? So basically, I'm asking, he's asking if you can hire sleeping bags. You can definitely hire sleeping bags at Kilimanjaro. So our team over there have a big storeroom with all of their kit. It's not brand spanking new, so don't expect to be sliding into a factory fresh bag. But it is definitely warm enough. The ones that I saw over there, I believe, were North Face. But I didn't rent one myself, so I can't be 100% certain. It's like a few dollars for the whole trip. What I recommend is bring a liner as well. So if you're particularly keen on having something that is kind of fresh and put a liner inside it, it'll also make it warmer as well. thought it was a sleeping bag of trying test as many people as confidence. I was leaving my basically, yeah, if you want to use that sleeping bags in Kilimanjaro, they're perfectly good enough for the trip. They're designed only for use on Kilimanjaro, or rather sought out for that use. So yeah, and I know quite a lot of other people on our group also used them, and zero complaints whatsoever. They were plenty warm enough. So hopefully I've covered that off there.
Yeah, nice, Dave. Just a couple of quick ones. I know Diane's mentioned how about ski gloves. You've got loads of them. Yeah, 100%. I mentioned at the beginning. Sorry if you missed it, Diane. Around, I've got a bunch of ski gloves myself, and I use them for also if it's really cold on a hike. So yeah, 100%. If you've got them, they'll do the job, mate. They'll do the job. So yeah, a little quick one there. We've got Alan, 72, and I climb Sleeve Donut on a regular basis. Should I stop doing this? Never. Although I don't know where that is.
It's in Ireland.
Oh, really? I probably pronounced that wrong then. Apologies. But Alan, yeah, if you're 72 and you're climbing mountains, never stop doing it. Keep doing it as long as you love it, mate.
Yeah, 100%. The oldest person to summit Everest was, I think he was nearly 90.
Yeah, it was 89, wasn't he?
89, yeah. I think Japanese fella kept going back. Yeah, might still be on the mountain though. I have to double check that. So another question came in. So a good question. So okay, can I ask from your point of view, is Annapurna more treacherous to climb and trek than Everest EBC? Good question. So Annapurna, like to climb Annapurna, if you're talking about Annapurna 1, which is the 8,000 meter, it is statistically the most deadly mountain of all the 8,000ers. So in terms of the amount of people that successfully summit and those die trying, the ratio is higher than K2, Everest, Shishapangma, all of those things, so it is technically the most deadly. The trek itself is the last avalanche, I think, that did catch out some people, I think, was in that region. So the Annapurnas themselves are like, it's a big amphitheater, and they are prone to avalanche, but actually 99.9% of the trails are completely safe, and as safe as the Everest region as well. They're well-trodden trails, and they don't tend to be in the path of avalanches and stuff like that. So I would say in terms of trekking, we don't really think of them in terms of like which is more dangerous, because they're pretty much the same. But in terms of climbing, Annapurna is like way more deadly. You need to be like a really experienced mountaineer in order to attempt a summit, and I believe that is due to the risk of avalanche and stuff like that. There is no safe route to the summit of Annapurna.
It is, I remember speaking to a famous mountaineer called Alan Hinks, Keswick Mountain Festival a few years back now, and he was he summited. He was the first British guy to climb all the 14 8,000 meter peaks, and he said, he's been approached by the BBC and things to climb other mountains, but he said it doesn't matter how much money someone offered him, he'd never climb Annapurna again, which kind of says it all really about the mountain in terms of climbing it. But what Dave said then, it's very, very rare in terms of trekking. And, I did, just to let everyone know as well, I did some more if you call them articles that would go on the website over the next sort of week or so. There's over 30 little videos I did the other day. And one of them was mentioned around danger, how dangerous certain trips are. And just to reiterate something I sort of said on there was around sort of managed danger. And Dave, we've talked about this loads. Yeah. In terms of sometimes, when you think of danger, inherently these are dangerous areas. You go into the mountains. Mountains are inherently dangerous. That's part of our love, and that's part of adventure. That's part of the challenge. But it's, in our opinion, it's no more dangerous than driving on the roads in icy, wet conditions. It's that can be dangerous, and we do that without even thinking about it.
Exactly.
It's one of those things that actually it's really, really safe. There are times when you can get unlucky. There are times when an avalanche can happen. Maybe you can have issues of altitude. Very, very rarely. But, we certainly don't see it as danger in terms of you go into like a sort of a bear pit. It's not like that. No, it's very safe and managed danger, as we like to call it.
Exactly.
Obviously, you've got to be comfortable with that. It's not for everyone. It's not Disneyland. It's a danger. It can be a dangerous place. And you've kind of got to be happy with that. So, but good question. I like those questions because, especially when it comes to, the difference between climbing these mountains and difference to trekking these mountains. You know,
it is.
The levels of danger is totally different.
Yeah, it's almost because like the regions of the Himalayas are named after these big 8,000-meter peaks. So it's very easy to draw like the comparison, because you go into the Everest region or the Annapurna region, and then those mountains have this connotation of like, wow, but actually trekking, it's apples and oranges. We're still at altitude and there's still an element of danger, but it's not, like Andy said, you know, it's not anything like, you know, climbing it or anything like that. So.
Yeah. Just seeing some lovely comments there, Ramona. Yeah, mate, I'm glad that the trips gives you hope. Is hopefully this won't last forever, mate. This won't last forever. It's on. You can kind of see the horizon. I know that horizon feels like it's still miles away, but you know, it's not far away, mate. We'll be getting on those trips before you know it. And obviously, it's great to have you on here so we can give you that encouragement and get you on these trips with Gaz as well. So yeah, Ramona, we can't wait to have you with us, mate.
Exactly. I would just like to say one thing about that as well. That, you know, you said that you know, obviously you put out there that you went to EBC, and some jealous people maybe said some bad names and called you bad names on a Facebook group you follow. So you need to unfollow that Facebook group.
Like, yeah, I was going to say,
quickly, and tune it all out, because it's all yeah, this is a PG, so I'm not going to tell you what my opinion is to people like that. But what I will say is like that, yeah, I've seen many groups on Facebook like that, you know, that this is why, like in our group, we try to, you know, even like a slight whiff of negativity on the wind and gone, you know, like we don't tolerate it. And honestly, I wouldn't even be part of a group like that. I wouldn't even have it on my radar. I would just sack that off immediately. You know, just, you know, know deep down that, you know, you probably achieve more in the 11 days of trekking than any negative person like that will achieve in their entire life. So crack on, Ramona, push on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, nicely said, Dave. Nicely said. But yeah, with some of the questions, Diane, you mentioned, sorry, mate, I know you just dropped in here. Any plans for treks around Mont Blanc? Yes. We would have, I think if it wasn't for our good friend COVID, we would certainly be doing them right now. But yeah, it's on the agenda. As always, we never like to rush into launching these trips before we kind of make sure they're Evertrekified. So yeah, but definitely good point. And yeah, we are on it with regards to Mont Blanc, as well as Mount Elbrus, where we're on the cusp of that as well. And there's a few newer trips in South America that we that are on the horizon. So yeah, certainly we'll, as always, guys, you know, you're on here every week, and if we got anything exciting like that, we'll let you know, because you know, we're super excited to, you know, obviously altitude is our thing. You know, we kind of altitude and mountains. So anywhere around the world where that happens, it's just a matter of time for us. I mean, obviously our big Mac is Everest Base Camp and Kili, you know, as we've kind of moved on. But you know, we're like you guys. We want to go on new adventures. We want to find new places, and continue to do that around the world. You know, it's a big world out there. So yeah, we can't wait.
We're launching Aconcagua, and that's a big tasty. And
you know, it's the biggest. Well, it's going to be the biggest mountain we climb for now, isn't it? But you know, exactly. Who knows what's on the agenda?
So let's have a quick look. Haley New Brimble has said, "Have you ever tried fingerless gloves with the mitten that folds over? Are they any good?" I've not tried them, no, but my dad has a pair, I think. Yeah, fine, great. I mean, to be honest, like any glove is better than no glove. I quite like the idea of the just being able to whap that thing over. Quite often there's like a handy bit of Velcro, you know, you stick that to, use your phone and, you know, fiddle around with bags and stuff, and then pull it back over, put it back over. Nice. I would probably say for Kili, you're going to need something a bit more substantial. Those types of gloves tend to be like little woolen gloves and things like that. So Kili or EBC or Calabatar in the cold weather and the dark, I would say you're going to need something like a little more substantial. But certainly for everyday trekking, you know, just like during the day and stuff like that, yeah, absolutely, they'd be great. So, yeah,
definitely. As we're going through them, I think was it Chris Clifford Hurst? Can you pick up a good pair in Nepal? Yeah, definitely. Anywhere. I mean, in Tamil, in Kathmandu, you could literally turn up and with nothing, and you've got everything there. You know, all the trekking shops, all the, you know, it's literally, I'd say you've got a 2 or 3 mile radius, and it's just full of trekking stores and shops and things like that. It's amazing, really is. But I mean, we've had people who have had issues and their baggage just got lost on the way. You know, their airline has just, you know, because it does happen time to time. Something to think about with insurance. And literally turned up, and the insurance said, okay, go and get whatever you need, and literally went all the way around Kathmandu buying, you know, new boots. Not ideal, but, you know, situation. all the other stuff, and you know, he got to have his base camp, and you know, so yeah, certainly things like gloves. I remember, I think it was my sister who came with us back in probably about 2.5 years ago now, around September, October time, and she forgot gloves and got some in Kathmandu. And there's heaps of options there, heaps of options, or you know, all the way to, you know, thin layer gloves to some you need to summit an 8,000 meter peak. So yeah, if you want to get them there, it's probably a little bit cheaper. You've kind of got to be sort of sensible. There's going to be ones that are real, as in they're going to be ones you could potentially get in the UK or US or, you know, Western shops. There's going to be some over there that might look real, but they're not. They're made locally. Not they're cheap, but they'll do the job. You know, they will do the job. They just won't last as long as kind of the other ones. But yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, awesome. Having a quick look here. So who's asked a quick question? Dave Rimmington, gloves for poles, lightweight, grippy, wicking. To be honest, I've never really thought too much about compatibility between my gloves and my poles. I think grippy's fine, but actually I had a pair of Rab gloves that were like super grippy, and they were almost too grippy. So when you're moving on the poles and stuff like that, they kind of like get pulled off your fingers. You have to keep pulling them back down again. Honestly, I don't overthink it. You know, most of the time you're just kind of like bearing down on them and supporting your weight. So like I said, 90% of the time when I'm on my treks, if you run kind of hot like I do, I just use the liners or no gloves. So liners or no gloves, but always in my pack, I'll have like an insulated warmer pair that are capable for any of the sort of cold weather I might encounter. But honestly, I just use a pair of liners. I've never really found too much of a difficulty using those with poles and stuff like that. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Gripping is good, but it's a personal preference thing. For me, it was a bit too grippy. I kind of like them to slide on the poles a bit, so they're not tugging the glove off the whole time.
Nice. Excuse me. Miko mentioned good to be back on live. Yeah, Miko, it's been a while. I hope you're well. Have you guys spoken about crampons? Any brand preference? Yeah, we briefly over the last few weeks, but yeah, with brand preference, I'd say _Ghil'vie are really good. I got a pair of _Ghil'vie G12 crampons. They'll be great. I know you're thinking about Island Peak, so they'd be perfect. Miko, yeah, reach out to us, mate. That's a point, actually, Dave. We should definitely do one around crampons and ice axes specifically.
Yeah, my pair of Ghil'vies are right by there.
I know. Wish we can use them, right?
Yeah.
Miko, great to see you. Great to see you back on, mate.
Yeah.
Chris, Clifford Hurst, are you worried about the China-India border scuffles? Not really. To be honest, I think they've been going on for hundreds of years, mate, and it'll continue to happen. I think, obviously, you know, we tend not to comment on any political stuff, but there are issues with certain countries and certain borders. And again, that's part of adventure travel. That's not going to go away. It's going to be there. Nepal is a very, very safe country. You know, I feel sometimes there at 3 a.m. in the morning way safer than I would in Cardiff, for instance, at 3 a.m. So you know, very, very safe.
I'm
not saying anything.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things where, you know what, India and Nepal have been arguing for years. Same as like India and China and stuff like that. Honestly, it doesn't even pop up on your radar when you're there. You know, we're there to do what we need to do and stuff like that. So yeah, that's fine. Let's have a quick look now. Abby asking if we know a pair of genuinely waterproof to let her know. Damn right, let me know as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go on, Dave. If you've got any, I know we've got heaps on the old.
Ramona's asked again. Isn't it different between spring and autumn? It was chilly in autumn, but no snow or ice. And then what I've seen, March, April, ever trackers were freezing. So yeah, to be honest, generally speaking, March, April, May, September, October, November are broadly speaking the same. The difference that you're seeing is because the Himalaya is so unpredictable. That I've been there in the spring, and you're absolutely right. We had loads of snow. It was great. I've been in the autumn when I've had loads of snow, and then I've also been in the autumn when it's been like a summer day. You know, so it's kind of unpredictable. What we always say is that don't worry too much about the differences in the seasons. Whenever you're going, you're going to need to prepare for all four. So we always say that you're gonna get all four seasons. You're going to be wet. You're going to be dry. You're going to be hot. You're going to be cold. So make sure that at any one time you're prepared for all of those scenarios, and then you'll be absolutely fine. To be honest, that's kind of a philosophy I'll use even in like Wales. You know, if we're going up Snowdon, I mean, and that's just like 35 degrees on a hot summer day, in which case I might not bring my down jacket. However, you know, I've been out on hot days and stuff like that. Me and Andy, when we went to that bomber I mentioned earlier, we started off in the rain, then we got sunburnt, and then we finished in the rain.
I remember that. Yeah,
you know, so
typical Welsh day, right? But you know, it's,
I didn't even notice it until afterwards. You know, it's just like, that's Wales.
Great stuff. Just while we're all right, Mark Van Rossum mentioned as well. Great that you're doing your training, mate, to obviously do some COVID-19 vaccinations. So yeah, good on you. And to everyone that's obviously frontline staff and NHS, you know, I know it's hard right now. And if you're on the live, you know, big sort of Big Ten to you guys, and keep going. I know it's not easy right now. But yeah, you mentioned around COVID vaccines, because I know last week we talked about vaccinations. And I think obviously Mark's following on from that. He mentioned that if you're having a COVID-19 vaccine, should not be given within 7 days of another vaccine. So yeah, if you are planning on having things like rabies or some of your hepatitis jabs, and obviously there's stages of them, just take that into account. And cheers for sharing that, Mark, as well, mate. I know, mate.
I love that.
That long now, I'm trying to make it sound different.
Yeah. It's a lovely comment from Deirdre McDonald. May God bless you on your journey. Challenging life is good, from Emma and Deirdre. Do you know what? Challenging life is brilliant, and same goes to you. That's the type of positivity we like in the group. Yeah, awesome. So let's have a quick look. So yeah, you just said about Marky V.
Yeah.
Miko. Hey, Miko, we haven't seen you in a while, but good to know you're back, mate. And have you guys spoken about crampons, any brand preferences? So I've just repeated that question. So
I was going to say,
yeah, you literally just did that one, and I think you're a few ahead of me on the.
I am sorry, mate. I'm gonna crack into this one. Sean, he said, from my liner gloves, I've got the Rab Forge. Will it be good enough for EBC paired with the Boltoros? Yeah, Boltoros are brilliant. I've got a pair of them. The Rab Forge, I can't remember what specifically, like thickness and rating, etc. Essentially, for EBC, I always take 2 pairs. So as we mentioned earlier, you've got kind of the liner glove, which the Rab Boltoros, I would say, are kind of that. You know, they're not that warm as, say, like, you know, you get those ski gloves. They've got the actual down. They're quite thick, and you know, you look like you got Michelin hands. You know, so if you had a Boltoro glove and if the Rab Forge, I mean, I'll give it a little Google. If it is like that, then 100%. You know, but yeah, good to have a couple of pairs. Like Dave said, you have a pair for 4 seasons. You know, if it does get quite cold sometimes, and in the morning when the sun hasn't quite reached the peaks, and you're in the shadow, especially on the way up to Everest Base Camp or Island Peak region, you know, you could be quite cold for an hour. So maybe you want to like take the edge off gloves. Then when you're in the sun, you want shorts and t-shirt weather. But then as you get higher and higher and higher, or if the weather comes in, you know, and it gets windy, then you want thicker pair of gloves. So definitely have a couple there, just in case of those scenarios.
Awesome. Paul Evans has asked, what's our view on micro spikes? Any good? Would they be useful for EBC? So with regards to those, the only time I think you may need them is when you're going over the high passes. So if you're on a Gokyo trip and going over Chola, or even if you're on the 3 passes trip, you know, when you're going over sort of the other passes, they may become in handy then, because as you go higher in the Himalaya, you know, there's more snow pack, maybe compressed ice and stuff. However, you don't need to bring them with you. So if you are booked on one of those trips, the guides know well in advance what the conditions are like, what the passes are like, and we can prepare for those. And we will provide you with those micro spikes and things like that if they're needed. So yes, they are really helpful. They are like a midpoint between nothing and crampons. And sometimes, they do just give you that a bit of extra purchasing grip and security when you're going over the passes. So yeah, 100%, they can be useful, but don't worry about bringing your own unless you want to use them elsewhere in the UK or anything like that. They can be handy for like a winter in the Scotland Highlands or something like that as well.
Yeah, just seeing some great comments there. Sorry, Julie. I love what you said then. Was it you say, I always feel a bit down on Tuesday afternoons because there's a whole week until the next Tuesday tune-in. Well, you know, we'd like to do it more often, but once a week for now. But yeah, no, I really appreciate that, Julie, and glad that you obviously find them useful, as well as heaps of comments there. I know.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and like we said, you know, we're more than anything, you know, we like to, you know, genuinely, it's like, you know, you guys are our friends. It's like a proper community. Every trekker that comes into our sort of, I like to think of it as like our event horizon. You know, so you come into our event horizon, and that's it. Then you're stuck. Are you saying we're like a black hole, Dave? black hole of positivity, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Black hole of positivity. So you come past our event horizon, and then no negativity can get in. Unfortunately, no one can then escape. But look, no negativity, and it's great, and like it's really good that you guys come together with us, every Tuesday, and we can like put the world to rights and talk about trekking and hiking and positivity, and then try and make that last then a week, because that's what we love. And like I said, I never get bored talking about this, so I need a platform like this, because all of my friends, my family, everyone I know, pretty much except Andy, has now stopped listening. So this is the best thing in the world for us and you.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, isn't it? Just going through. Warren asks, ever thought trips to NZ, New Zealand? Yeah, mate. I'd love to. I got to be honest. Obviously, it's very far from the UK, but New Zealand probably I'd say one or two. Very close to Nepal in terms of my favorite country in the world. Absolutely beautiful place. Done loads of trekking there. Yeah, who knows in the future? It's one of them because of the distance. It takes a whole sort of 24 hours to get to you, but never say never. Because it's got some fantastic climbing and trekking there. As good as anywhere in the world. So yeah, Warren, you never know. Definitely, like I mentioned earlier, around Mount Elbrus and Europe as well, and some of the trips we're doing. Maybe Tour de Mont Blanc is on the agenda. I think with COVID, we've kind of appreciate that. We're trying to find some balance of having some near the UK, essentially, because 90% of our trekkers are from the UK. But always, mate, we're looking to sort of expand our horizons.
Yeah.
Who knows about New Zealand? I'd love to, and it's a fantastic place. And I presume you're from New Zealand, but love New Zealand.
So I've never been there, so that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, you love it.
One from Diane. Hey, Diane. Awesome. I clearly sent you a message this morning and didn't answer all your questions, so I apologize. An extra day for Rainbow Mountain. It is recommended, yes, because it gives you sort of, when you come back from Rainbow Mountain, so you come back, you have the day, and then you depart the next day. Arriving back from the mountain, from Machu Picchu to arrive, then to go and do Rainbow Mountain, then to come back, then to go. It's too much of a compressed time scale. So I having one extra day. Rainbow Mountain can be done in a day. It's always best to do it at the end of the trip because it is over 5,000 meters, which means you've already gone through an acclimatization cycle. So when you come back, have a nice chill, relax, and then the next day, go up to Rainbow Mountain, do that, and then come back and then go the next day. So just that one extra day will make it a little bit easier for you, take away all the pressure with regards to timescales, and also you might be exhausted when you get back, and a good night's sleep will probably give you the energy you need to kind of get a Rainbow Mountain the following day. So hopefully that's helpful for you, and apologies I missed that out on this morning's video.
Nice, Dave. Diane also asked about basic crampons if needed for trips like Toubkal. They in Imlil, which is basically where we kind of start the trips up to Toubkal. We can hire, and if the conditions are that bad, we can sort that out when you arrive. If you had your own pairs, beneficial, but you can rent them locally. The same with when it comes to Kili. Excuse me. I think it was Andy there mentioned around something to do with Kili there. Would have been handy. Yeah, on our Kili summits, always been quite lucky with regards to conditions. But you're right. Yeah, it can be quite challenging. Some micro spikes could be useful up there. It depends on the conditions, but again, you can rent them locally if you need them. I kind of took some micro spikes and never needed them, and it was really cold. But luckily, because of the sort of landscape, it was okay. But obviously, I don't know what the conditions were like for you, Andy. Right. What's next?
I think we lucked out with Kili.
Jerome, where is Elbrus? My geography O level has failed me. It's on the border of Georgia and Russia. So some trips go from Georgia, some go from Russia. Looking at the logistics, it's sometimes easier to go from Georgia because getting a visa for Russia can be challenging. We'll be probably using the Georgia side.
I went to St. Petersburg, and it's a long process to get a Russian visa.
Yeah,
and not entirely fussed on you getting what it seems to me, but awesome. I was thinking about what Andy said about Kili then, and it's strange, that interested in to know what the conditions were like there. Because obviously you got quite high on the mountain to get to the ice cap and stuff like that. It was, I think, and when we were there, it was probably about as icy as it can be and still be passable, I think, because there was still sort of, but you could like fashion a path through the ice. But in some parts, like, you know, some of the, you know, the glacier and stuff was up to like, you weren't walking through it, but next to it. And it was like, you know, pretty like a meter deep, you know, so would have been pretty,
it was pretty challenging
on top of it. But luckily we could fashion a path through there. So yeah, that was quite good. I want to go back, man. I keep thinking about it, and
well, it's weird, isn't it? Because that was kind of the last thing we were able to do before, you know, our good friend COVID had hit. But you know, we'll get back there, and it's great. I'm just looking for all the comments now. People are talking about Elbrus and highest in Europe and all that, and yeah, won't be long, guys. We'll be back. We'll be back on these trips before you know it.
Just 100%.
If we're talking about horizons, like Dave said earlier, it's not that far. You know, it's not far at all. Although we wish it was closer in, but it's, you know, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But right, Dave, I know we've kind of gone through a lot now. I mean, I think we've covered all the questions that we've seen here. If you do get any last minute ones, drop them in. But we'll start to finish off, and we hope you enjoyed seeing Mr. Bernie Sanders at the beginning. If you missed that, because I saw a few people come in halfway, go back. We had a little bit of a special guest on the Tuesday tune-in. We had good old Bernie join us just to demonstrate how to use mittens, because you know, he's obviously well practiced over the last week with the millions of memes that have gone around. So yeah, have a look at the beginning of the live if you missed it. But obviously, it's great to talk about gloves, to talk about all those questions. It's, you know, I hope you found it you know, really valuable as always. And yeah, it's certainly great.
Hang on, Karen. So first, Stefan Halls. I think I dropped you a little video message the other day. How you doing, mate? First one. Karen, ask your 2 questions now. I can't find them.
Yeah, we are going to wait. I will search for Karen.
We're like the Army Rangers. We never leave someone behind, or we try not.
All I can see, Karen's mentioned you can get knickers for that. Okay, so I'm not sure that's a question. Let's have a little look. I'm just scrolling through all of ours, and apology, Karen. Quite a few of us changing. I'm just going through all of ours.
Furiously now. She's typing away furiously. Yeah, sometimes it's hard for us to keep track of this feed because it is literally like
I know it is, isn't it, Karen? I've got sealskin.
Wait. Karen Bade following from Bryce's comment saying he gave his gloves away to porters in Kathmandu. I've been thinking about that. What's the best right thing to do about donating any kit? Awesome. Lauren on the phone saves the day. And we've got your second one here as well. Okay, your first one about donating kit. It is a great idea. You don't have to any sort of kit that you want to give away to the porters, guys, anybody that supported you. It's always greatly received. You know, it's something I think on every trip that I've done, I've given at least something away to someone. You know, a lot of people just kind of give it out, you know, to whoever. That's fine. If one of the porters has particularly helped you, sometimes they'll stick by you and maybe carry your bag and stuff. You know, you can reward them with something if you want to. Anything you can do for those guys is greatly received, and there's no sort of around it. You kind of do it however you see fit. You know, it's your stuff, it's your donation. And it's always going to be greatly received. You don't have to wait till Kathmandu either. You know, I've given gloves on the mountain to people, you know, and stuff like that. So yeah, be free and easy with it, and you know, it's a good thing. So however you do it, it's gonna be good.
Nice. I think Karen asked around, you might get a training trip in the summer. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to. If we're allowed, we'll certainly be running them. You know, we're still in that wait and see. I mean, by the summer, we're kind of hopeful. You know, by the spring that we'll be able to come out of lockdown and able to run groups. It might have to be a bit smaller from a social distancing. But yeah, Karen, certainly if we can run them, obviously we'll let you guys know on the Tuesday tune-in, but we'll also let you know social feeds on email. And yeah, we'd love to have you guys on there.
So yeah, boy just
Doug's a new granddad this week, I heard. So Doug, congratulations on your grandson. First grandchild.
Slippers on the way, mate. Pipe and slippers on the way. You go, granddad. But,
brilliant. Nice. Well, Dave, I think we've answered, Karen. We've answered your questions now, I hope. Yeah. If we have missed any, we'll obviously go through and we'll obviously go answer those questions. But I hope that's been a little bit useful today. As always, I know we've talked about this on every live. We're about to order the next batch of down jackets. If you want to get yourself a down jacket and help support the guides in the pool, Lauren, if you can put the link in, please. The guys can get the down jacket and obviously all the profits from that go to the guides.
Yeah.
You know, we raised over $5,000 now, which is fantastic. And you know, speaking to Anuj, I was messaging him yesterday, and obviously all the guides in Kathmandu and you know in their villages, they're all doing fantastic. Obviously challenging. You know, to them it's part and parcel of the challenge, because you know Nepal's a very poor country anyway, but you know it has been tough for them. So we really appreciate if you want to grab one of those jackets. I know that you know Mark there, you know, he's got his jacket. I know Ramona's got a jacket. I know loads of you have bought your jackets, but if you do want one, yeah, links there. Grab yourself a little jacket, and that link also takes you to the store. So Miko, you mentioned about the shop. Yeah, there's some of our merch there. If you want to grab yourself a hoodie or one of our mugs, you can grab that on that same link as well. Just navigate to those and grab yourself one. But yeah, love you and leave you, and have fun. And yeah, we'll catch you next Tuesday.
All the best. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.